Now that Dad has passed away, I'll be the one to handle the inheritance. These were Mike's words. When my husband David died and the funeral settled, our oldest son Mike immediately brought up the subject of the inheritance. "Why do you think you're the one to manage this?" Kevin, the younger brother, asked, clearly perplexed. Mike responded with a slight smile. "Well, since Dad didn't leave a will, it's my responsibility as the eldest to distribute his assets," Mike explained. I was taken aback by Mike's assertion. "First, I'll take all of Dad's properties. Mom can keep this house, and Kevin can have whatever's left in Dad's bank accounts," he declared. I was furious at Mike's greed. Despite David's monthly financial support to Mike and his wife due to their poor financial decisions, Mike seemed to forget all of David's kindness. He was more interested in the money than mourning his father's death. Kevin then came up with a suggestion, and that's when I decided it was time to teach the selfish couple a lesson. My name is Laura, and I'm 75 years old. I was married to my husband David, a former office worker, for half a century. I had our first son, Mike, when I was 27. The first experience of childbirth and parenting was so challenging that I nearly gave up. 3 years later, Kevin was born. You might think that having experience would make it easier, but instead, it felt like the difficulties just multiplied with another child. Raising 2 boys was a relentless daily challenge. But looking back, once they were married and it was just David and me again, I started to miss those hectic days. Despite being just an office worker, David made enough to comfortably support our family of 4, and we never faced financial hardships. Once the kids finished college and our financial burden lightened, David began investing in real estate. Though I didn't know all the details, he made sure we had a steady income for our retirement, giving me peace of mind. I had immense respect and trust in David, believing we were set for a peaceful retirement without financial stress. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way. Our oldest son, Mike, struggled with finding a job and began spending his days drinking and misusing money. He had always excelled academically, attending the top high school in our county and maintaining good grades. The neighbors often praised him as a model son, and he basked in their admiration. For college, Mike moved to New York to attend a well-regarded private university. We were proud of him and confident that he would secure a job at a prestigious company. However, the reality of New York hit him hard. He was surrounded by people who were more capable than him, and despite numerous interviews at esteemed companies, he was repeatedly rejected. Eventually, Mike returned home and found a job at a respectable company. Some of his middle school classmates worked there too. Unfortunately, he worked under a classmate who had attended a less competitive high school and had started working earlier. This seemed to wound Mike's pride, and he began drinking heavily every day. "Mike, drinking like this isn't good for your health. You need to stop," his dad said. "What? Shut up, old man, just give me some money. My salary isn't enough to cover my drinking expenses." Mike replied, slurring his words. "I just lent you money recently. I can't keep giving you thousands of dollars each time," David said as he was getting furious. Mike smashed the glass he was holding. "So you have money but won't help your son? I get it. You don't care about me because I failed in my career. Sorry for not living up to your expectations." "That's not true at all." His dad tried to calm him down. "Then you'll lend it to me, right?" Mike looked at him with hopeful eyes. David hesitated, then reluctantly gave Mike some money. Given Mike's physical size and strength, I couldn't stand up to him, so I only cleaned up the broken glass. Mike seemed to feel inferior to his younger brother, Kevin. Kevin graduated from a national university and is now a lawyer. Both Mike, who works in a regular company, and Kevin, who is a lawyer, are dear to me. I admire them both. However, no matter how much I reassure Mike, he remains annoyed. Kevin married his college sweetheart and lives nearby. Mike, even at 30, continued his heavy drinking and womanizing. Rumors about his behavior began to spread in the neighborhood as he continued borrowing more than $1,000 from David each month. I couldn't help but worry about his future. When Mike turned 38, he introduced us to a woman named Mary, saying he wanted to marry her. Meeting Mary changed him. "I've relied on you too much, but from now on, as a man, I plan to take care of Mary," he said with a calm smile. Seeing this change in Mike brought me a sense of relief. Mary, at 23, was significantly younger than Mike, 15 years his junior. Marriages with such an age gap were uncommon at the time, and I had my reservations. However, I was thrilled that Mike was declaring his independence, so I gave my blessings to their union. But that decision proved to be a mistake. Mary turned out to have over-generous spending habits. Just 2 weeks after their wedding, Mike and Mary showed up at our door, asking for money. "We're planning our honeymoon, but we're short on cash. Could you lend us some?" they asked. "Where are you planning to go?" I inquired. "Mary wants to go to Italy," Mike replied, with both of them beaming at each other. "Italy is quite far and can be expensive. Why not consider a more budget-friendly option, like a domestic trip?" I suggested. "What? A domestic trip for a honeymoon? That's ridiculous. A trip abroad, especially first class, is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Dad, you have the means. Why not be generous and help us out?" Mary interjected without hesitation. Rather than scolding her, Mike nodded in agreement. "Exactly, Dad. You've always been sparing. It's time to loosen up a bit. Mom, you hardly spend anything, right?" "That's right. There's no point in hoarding money. Let us spend it for you," Mary added with a bright smile that gave me a headache. Mary's attitude was unlike anything I had encountered before, and I was at a loss for how to handle it. They were adamant that since David had money, it was only natural for him to share it with them, since they didn't have much. Their requests for money weren't limited to the honeymoon. They frequently found themselves short on cash and would come to us for loans. Before long, David began giving Mike and Mary a monthly allowance. "When will this dependence end?" David would lament, exhausted. Despite Kevin's attempts to reason with Mike, he avoided him, ignoring calls and emails. Even after Mike turned 40, David continued to support them financially. Then, suddenly, everything changed. David passed away from an aortic dissection without warning. His sudden departure was impossible for me to accept. Memories of David would overwhelm me no matter what I was doing, and I couldn't hold back the tears. While I was consumed by grief, it was Kevin who stepped up to handle the funeral arrangements and other necessary tasks. Despite his sorrow, Kevin managed everything, from coordinating with the funeral home to notifying relatives, ensuring that the funeral proceeded smoothly. Surrounded by David's former colleagues, neighbors, and longtime friends, he was bid farewell and sent off to his final rest. As we gathered at the home after the funeral, sipping tea together, Mike suddenly stood up. "Well, now that Dad's gone, I'll be the one to handle the inheritance." "Why should it be you?" Kevin questioned, puzzled. "Dad didn't leave a will, right? So as the eldest, it falls on me to sort it out," Mike asserted. Mike's claimant caught me off guard, and I was unable to find the words to respond. "First, I'll take all of Dad's real estate. Mom can keep this house, and Kevin can have whatever's left in Dad's bank account." There wasn't much left in David's account, maybe around $5,000. The savings of a frugal man like David had all been spent on allowances for Mike and Mary over the years. Mike must have been aware of this, likely intending to leave Kevin with only a small portion of the inheritance. "Kevin's doing well for himself, right? He doesn't need it. And Mom, you won't need money for much longer anyway," Mike remarked, his words dripping with selfishness. I couldn't contain my anger at Mike's callousness. "So, no more support for us?" "What?" "Come on, old lady, don't be dramatic," Mary chimed in. Kevin let out a deep sigh. Then, to my surprise, He made a shocking declaration. "All right then, Mom and I will forfeit our share of the inheritance." "Kevin, what are you saying?" I protested. "It's fine," Kevin whispered to me. "I don't need the money, and I'll take care of you, Mom. Let Mike and Mary have everything. They can even have this house if they want." Mike's eyes lit up at Kevin's words. "Kevin's so understanding. Just don't come back later asking for a piece of the pie, okay?" "Of course, with one condition. Can I manage the inheritance proceedings?" Kevin asked. "I know a few accountants. It's not a problem. That works out perfectly. With Dad's estate, we can live the high life," Mike agreed. "Yeah, there are a few things I've been eyeing, and a trip I've been wanting to take," Mary added. Mike and Mary left, discussing their plans for the inheritance. I shot Kevin a stern look. "Why would you agree to that? Mike hasn't shown any regret, only greed. I don't want him to have anything from Dad's estate. This house holds too many memories." I grieved. "It's all right, Mom. I have a plan," Kevin said, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Let's give Mike a taste of his own medicine." Kevin outlined his revenge plan, leaving me speechless at the audacity of it. "You'll help me, won't you, Mom?" I nodded without hesitation. After witnessing Mike's disregard for David's hard-earned money and his lack of mourning, my feelings towards him had soured. I was determined to teach him a hard lesson. 3 months had passed, and I had settled into Kevin and his wife's home. All the inheritance affairs are sorted out. Dad's entire estate has gone to Mike, so everything is in order. It's all good, Kevin assured me confidently as we leisurely sipped coffee after breakfast. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, interrupting our peaceful morning. The monitor revealed Mike and Mary standing outside. "Mike, what brings you here so early on a Sunday morning?" Kevin inquired. "It's not about why I'm here. What's this about?" Mike's voice boomed with anger. Unfazed, Kevin remained composed as he responded. "Let's not raise our voices, Mike. You're disturbing the neighbors. I'll open the door. Just hold on," Kevin replied calmly. As Kevin opened the door, Mike and Mary stormed in, their expressions furious. "I received a notice from the bank about a collection. What's going on?" "We never borrowed any money from the bank. When I called, they said it was debt that Dad had incurred. Why should I have to pay it?" "Explain," Mike demanded, his face flushed with anger. "Well, it's quite simple. You inherited Dad's estate," Kevin explained calmly. "What? Why should I be losing money because of my inheritance?" "It's not about inheritance tax, is it?" Mike retorted. "Indeed. Apart from inheritance tax, you'll also have to deal with his debts. The collection notice is regarding repayment of those debts," Kevin clarified. "Dad had debts? What are you talking about? Dad was wealthy, right? His properties alone were worth millions, and he was earning tens of thousands in rental income every month," Mike exclaimed in disbelief. Kevin sighed, feeling exasperated. "He wasn't in debt per se. He had taken out loans. It's common practice among real estate investors. You borrow money to purchase properties and then repay it with the rental income." On the day of Dad's funeral, after Mike and Mary had departed, Kevin disclosed to me about David's debts. Just 2 months before his passing, he had purchased an apartment worth over $500,000 and had a substantial amount to repay to the bank. Since debts are also inherited, it was suggested that renouncing the inheritance might be the best course of action, and I entrusted Kevin with handling the proceedings. If Mom and I had claimed a share of the inheritance as well, the debt would have been divided among us. But since you insisted on inheriting everything, Mike, you're now also inheriting all of Dad's debts, Kevin explained. "What? What's all this about? Dad was just pretending to be wealthy while just borrowing from the bank?" "How deceitful," Mary scoffed. "How dare you say such a thing?" I shot Mary a sharp glare, to which she responded with a loud click of her tongue. "Don't be so upset. It's not like it's just any debt. It's a loan. We have rental income, so we'll just have to make the monthly payments. Mike attempted to dismiss the issue. It's precisely because we don't have that kind of money that I'm upset. We thought we were going to inherit a substantial amount, and even went on a trip yesterday. We've already spent all our savings, so we don't have any funds to pay the bank. It's only fair that you cover it, Mary demanded. Ignoring their demands, Kevin tilted his head in contemplation. Why should I be responsible for paying? Isn't the rental income due soon? We can't wait for that. We also have credit card bills and it's not enough to cover everything. Mike protested. That's your responsibility for overspending, isn't it? Why should Mom and I have to clean up your mess? Kevin retorted, getting annoyed. Mike and Mary frowned at Kevin's tone. Stop acting so superior. You've always looked down on me, Mike snapped. I'm not looking down on you. It's just common sense. If you live beyond your means, you're bound to face consequences. Kevin replied calmly. Mike's frustration was evident as he grimaced in response to Kevin's words. At that moment, Mary, standing beside Mike, flashed a wide grin. If there's debt involved anyway, perhaps renouncing the inheritance is the best option, right? If Laura could do it, so can Mike. Exactly. You're onto something. I'll renounce the inheritance too. Kevin, you handle the paperwork, Mike declared, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Unfortunately, you're past the window for renouncing the inheritance. You only have 3 months to do so, and it's been over that since Dad passed away. Mike, you have no choice but to inherit everything, Kevin calmly stated. What? That's not fair, Mike erupted. Yeah, you're just trying to get out of paying off the debt, you cowards, Mary chimed in. I struggled to contain my amusement as Mike and Mary fumed with frustration. I hadn't anticipated Kevin's meticulous planning to ensure Mike would inherit everything, including the debts. He deliberately waited until the 3 months had passed, citing prolonged inheritance procedures, then dropped the bomb on them once the window for renunciation closed. Legally, only Mike is obligated to repay the debt, so we're off the hook. If the repayment is challenging, why not sell the condo and convert it into cash? Kevin suggested. But then we'll lose the passive income, Mike protested. True. It's a choice between continuing to pay the mortgage with rental income or selling the condo now to clear the debt. The decision is yours, Mike, Kevin explained. Mike squirmed uncomfortably. Now that you understand the implications of the collection notice, can you leave? It's early, and I don't want my day off ruined. At this, Mike and Mary started to panic. Wait, we're not done discussing this. We don't have the money right now. Can't you cover it for this month at least? Sorry, but that's not possible. I have significant expenses this month too, Kevin replied firmly. Don't say that. Aren't we brothers? Brothers should help each other out. Kevin, you earn well and have extra cash, right? Mike pleaded. Kevin burst into laughter. Coming from someone who only thinks of himself, that's rich. Mike, weren't you the one pushing for a larger share of the inheritance? You didn't even lift a finger for the funeral arrangements, and now you bring up brotherhood when it suits you. Sorry, but I'm not your ATM. Dad might have provided for you, but I won't be your financial crutch, Kevin asserted, staring Mike down. Despite enduring years of insults from Mike, Kevin had always remained composed, but it seemed the accumulated stress had finally reached its breaking point. The icy tone of Kevin's voice revealed just how much he resented Mike's self-centeredness and lack of effort. When Mike turned to me in desperation, pleading for a loan, I shut him down immediately. Absolutely not. Don't say that. I have an idea. Let's all live together. We can use your pension to cover the bank repayments, and you won't have to worry about your living expenses, Mary proposed, her eyes sparkling as if she had just unveiled a stroke of genius. But I had reached my limit. Enough. How could I possibly live with someone who wished for me to drop dead? I snapped. Mom, Mary was just joking. She didn't mean it seriously, Mike interjected hastily. Yes, it was just a joke. Please don't be upset, Mary chimed in, her desperation palpable as they both gripped my shoulders. "Mom, I know you must be concerned about your retirement, right? You've been a homemaker all your life, so you probably don't have much in savings. And with me working, we won't have to worry about food or shelter," Mike reasoned. "Sorry, but I do not need financial assistance." "What? What do you mean?" Mike and Mary demanded an explanation, perplexed. In fact, David arranged for any surplus money I received for living expenses to be deposited into my account. He told me to spend it as I pleased, but since I didn't have many wants, it just kept accumulating. Now I have nearly $200,000 saved up, I revealed. "If you have that much, then why not lend some to me?" "Your son is in trouble here, Mom," Mike pleaded. "Can you stop? You didn't even mourn when David passed away, so don't presume to call yourself my son." "I already made it clear that I won't be providing any more financial assistance, so I won't be giving you any money," I declared firmly. "Please hear me out. I've kept quiet about it, but I'm in debt. I wanted a larger inheritance to clear my debts. I'm already struggling to meet the repayments, and I can't handle Dad's debts on top of it," Mike confessed. His sudden revelation didn't surprise me. Despite earning around $30,000, he indulged in overseas trips and pulled on designer clothes from head to toe. I had suspected that the money David had lent him wouldn't have been sufficient. "No wonder you're always thinking about money. If you have debt, you should be living more modestly and focusing on paying it back," I said. Despite their debts, Mike and Mary were indulging in luxuries like buying designer bags. They probably used the money they got from David to pay off their debts. It seemed they were naively thinking that once they got the inheritance, they could pay off all their debts and then relax. "Mom, help me out. I admit I've been bad in the past. We'll take care of you in your old age. We'll do anything. I don't need you to look after me in my old age. I have enough money to afford a nursing home, and I have Kevin." "That's right. Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of you. Mike, you should just think about yourself." "Damn it. Why is this happening?" Mike pounded the floor with his fists repeatedly. Kevin grabbed his arm and led him to the entrance. "Can you please not involve us anymore by now?" Kevin said. "Hey, are you kicking us out? The conversation isn't over yet. At least lend me the money for this month's debt repayment." Kevin and I exchanged exasperated glances. "All the debts are your responsibility. If you had discussed this with us sooner, we could have helped a bit more, but we can't be kind to someone who tries to scam money like you. By the way, even if we're family, lying to borrow money and not paying it back could be considered fraud. You should be grateful you're not being sued." "Fraud? That's not what I intended at all." Mary covered her mouth and trembled. After realizing what they had done, Mike and Mary quieted down, and Kevin pushed them out the door. "Wait, Kevin, Mom, I was wrong. Please help me. Please don't be mean. Forgive me. I'm sorry." Mike and Mary were apologizing loudly like school children, but we didn't respond at all. Perhaps embarrassed by the neighbors' glances, they reluctantly went back home. It seems Mike and Mary ended up selling the condo, but as Kevin predicted, the selling price was lower than the purchase price, and they still have about $50,000 in debt left. Originally, Mike had about $200,000 in debt, and seems to have filed for bankruptcy due to difficulty in repaying it. Their house, car, and designer items were seized, and now they're living in a rundown apartment without a bath. When Mary, who was only after the money, realized they wouldn't get the inheritance, she immediately asked Mike for a divorce. Amongst the turmoil of Mike and Mary's ongoing arguments over divorce, an unexpected turn of events brought a ray of light into my life. Surprisingly, I managed to reclaim the house that David and I once shared. The property was listed for sale, and Kevin, ever thoughtful, purchased it for me. Though it's showing signs of age after years of existence, it holds invaluable memories of the precious moments spent with David and our children. The sheer joy of being able to once again dwell in this cherished abode is indescribable. Despite concerns about me living alone, Kevin and his wife make a point to visit me every week, bringing warmth and companionship into my life. With their unwavering support, my days are filled with contentment once more. Although I still experience moments of sadness when recalling David, I cling to the fond memories we shared and embrace the remaining chapters of my life with gratitude.